White papers can be excellent marketing tools for businesses, particularly B2B. They exist to inform, explain, and educate. But that said, long-form educational content takes time. So if you're interested in learning how to create effective white papers by repurposing your blog content, you have to keep on listening. You're listening to the Content 10x podcast, where it's all about content repurposing. I'm Amy Woods, and I'm here to help you maximize your content and find smart ways to get your message in front of more of the right people, whilst also saving time. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to the Content 10x podcast. I'm Amy Woods, the host of the Content 10x podcast and founder of specialist content repurposing agency Content 10x. In this episode, I'm going to share how you can repurpose your blog posts into really effective, informative and educational white papers that will blow your audience away. So by the end of this episode, you'll have heard what a white paper actually is and what a white paper is not as well, what types of blog posts are ideal for repurposing into a white paper, and how to create a white paper from your blog posts. So let's look at what a white paper is and its main purpose, and perhaps touch on what it is not too, because that's really important. Now, interesting fact, historically, the term white paper originated when government documents were colour-coded to indicate where they could be distributed, and white was for public access. So just an interesting fact there. And that might explain why the term white paper sounds so overly corporate and stuffy, but they really don't have to be that way, because done right, they are a brilliant resource for your sales and marketing team, and they help build trust and credibility with your audience. Now, the true definition of a white paper can divide a room because it does vary quite a lot from industry to industry, but I really like HubSpot's definition, which is that they are a persuasive, authoritative, in-depth report on a specific topic that presents a problem and provides a solution. So I'll say that again. A white paper, according to HubSpot, is a persuasive, authoritative, in-depth report on a specific topic that presents a problem and provides a solution. And let's just look at what a white paper is not. A white paper isn't a product pitch. Now, although they are often described as documents designed to promote or highlight a solution, product or service, you should be careful of blatantly trying to promote your product or business, because that isn't the point of a white paper. It should stick to facts and evidence and just be super useful. So bearing all of this in mind, it's really important to ensure that a white paper is right for your current content and your audience, instead of maybe a guide or an ebook or something else instead. So let's look at what types of blog posts are best for repurposing into a white paper. Now, as I mentioned, white papers usually start by detailing problems, then follow on with solutions to those problems. So solution-based blog posts are perfect for this type of repurposing. Now, the structure of a white paper varies depending on the industry, but it will always need to include the following elements. So a strong headline that will catch the reader's interest, an introduction that lets them know what will be covered in the body of the content, a description of the problems. This is where you lay out all the key points in as much detail as possible. And then you want your solution section. So this will most likely be the longest, most valuable part of your white paper. And then finally, you need a conclusion that wraps everything up. And don't forget, of course, because it is a comprehensive educational document, you do need to include your references and sources too. Now, a business blog post will often have a similar structure to what I've just mentioned. So if your blog has been around for a few years or even months, you may well have all this content already. So lots and lots of great blog posts that could be repurposed into your white paper. Now, in a previous episode of this podcast, episode 248, called How to Repurpose Long-Form Content into Even Longer Form Content, I speak a bit about how and why a white paper is brilliant for showcasing your expertise and for repurposing your long-form content into even longer-lasting content. So be sure to go check that out. That's content10x.com/248. So how should you go about repurposing your blog post into a white paper? The first thing I would suggest is to identify a problem that you have covered in your blog posts that really resonates with your audience and use that as the topic. So if you listen to your readers' input and feedback and you look at your website analytics to spot your popular posts, you know you are providing them with something they actually want, and ultimately you'll create more demand for your white paper. From there, it's time to plan. So create an outline and review your current blog posts for content that can be repurposed. You may discover that there are gaps that need to be filled. So you've got your outline and you can see all the different blog posts that can fill the different sections of the white paper. But then there may just be some gaps, and this provides a great opportunity to fill those gaps with brand new content, which of course you can then repurpose into other content. So a bit more on that in another episode, but if you are going to fill gaps with new content, of course that content is repurposable. So it's kind of like the gift that keeps on giving. Now, there's no set order for writing your white paper. Some of you will maybe prefer a linear approach, starting with the introduction and working down, while others prefer to leave the introduction and header until last, when they have a complete understanding of what is included. Now, there's no right or wrong way. Whatever works best for you is great, as long as the end result is what you want it to be. So for me personally, I usually do the main bulk of the content and the conclusion and then go back and write the introduction. That's just how I like to work, but everybody is different. Now, if you have an in-house design team or a budget behind you, then I really recommend getting a designer to complete the layout for you. The design should be on brand and simple. It's a professional document, so you want it to look good enough to download, but also really easy on the eye to read as well. And once you're happy with the content and layout, you'll want to ask someone to read through it to check the flow, spot any typos, or just generally query things that might not sound right, because it's easy to miss mistakes when you've been staring at something for weeks. So another pair of eyes will help make sure you present your readers with the best possible end result. So they are my tips for creating a really strong, persuasive white paper for your audience and customers. So let's just recap. First, you have to be sure that a white paper is right for your content and your audience. Then choose the topic from the existing blog post that you have and put together your outline. Don't forget to speak to your audience and include their feedback too, and look at your analytics to spot your most popular blog posts and topics. And then it's time to start repurposing and then fill in any gaps in your content with new content that you can also then go on to repurpose. And then you'll finish off with a neat, professionally designed and proofread white paper, all ready to upload. And then you want to get the word out to your audience about the white paper and do lots of promotion and more repurposing of the white paper to make sure as many people as possible are aware of it. Then I think you absolutely deserve to put your feet up and crack open a drink of your choice, because you've pulled off an epic repurposing job. So that's all for this episode. I hope you found it super useful. If you did, then please leave a like and a rating on your podcast app. I'd be really, really grateful. And also take a look at our social media channels as well to see repurposing in action and just non-stop tips and advice on content repurposing and how to maximize your content. So we're at Content 10X on all the social media platforms. Of course, if you need help with your content, then check out our services at content10x.com/services. We provide a fully end-to-end done-for-you video and audio repurposing services specifically for B2B tech and professional services companies. So head over there to have a look and see what we could do for you. So I guess all that's left to say is thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope it's been useful, and I'll catch you in the next one.